Surfing is one of the most alluring sports in the world. You get to immerse yourself in the most beautiful environment possible, the ocean. You get to temporarily harness energetic lines of swell as you ride them to the beach in a mesmerising and addictive flow experience. And eventually, you can feel the thrill of performing all the tricks and turns that you really want to on a wave. Those moments when turning, getting tubed, or even doing airs feels effortless. There is no better feeling. These are some of the reasons why I've been surfing for 18 years. I started at the age of 10 as a beginner and have progressed all the way up to an advanced surfer. And since becoming a coach in the last 3 years, I've worked out the common steps and the hurdles, and most importantly, the practice techniques, which can help people transition from that beginner stage to intermediate and all the way through to advanced. Full honesty, it's not always quick. It's not always easy. And although the best way to improve is to spend as much time in the water as possible, understanding the principles of surfing, the biomechanics of it, and the hacks to fast track your success are incredibly beneficial to your overall journey. My name is Kale Brock, and if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join me on Instagram at Kale's Broccoli, because today we're going to take you all the way from beginner surfer up to intermediate. Now, in saying that, this video isn't just for beginners or intermediates, it's also for advanced surfers as well, because there are some key gems to take away. Boards, boards, boards. It seems like new shapes are popping up everywhere, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that you're falling behind if you don't buy the next best thing as soon as it hits the shelves. Well, it's not the case. But board requirements do change the more you advance with your surfing, and depending on the conditions.
It is really important to have the right board. It is going to result in, developing into a better surfer faster. What a lot of people find hard when they're beginning to surf is catching waves. So either you don't have the ocean knowledge yet, or you don't have the paddle fitness yet, so it can be a combination of both. And having the longer board and the added thickness, in addition to a little bit more width, helps a novice surfer or a surfer wanting to improve their skills paddle easier, because the board sits a little bit further out of the water, so there's A, a little bit less drag, and B, more flotation. By catching more waves, you have more exposure to riding waves, and hence you can kind of grow and develop your skills faster. You're looking for like a wide board, wider nose, wider tail, looking more like a bubble, like bulbous and round, as opposed to pointy in the nose and really narrow in the tail. Look, if you're catching pretty much, I'd say 80% of the waves that you're paddling for, and from there, once you're up, you're trimming along the wave and finding it easy to get to the unbroken part of the wave. That's probably when you're wanting to expand your skill set and pick a board that has a larger performance envelope. That board will be a little bit shorter and a little bit narrower, and just overall the shape, you're starting to reduce that kind of width in the nose and the tail, and increasing also now the rocker in the board as well. So you're looking for a board that effectively has more curve in the outline and in the rocker that will allow a bit more maneuverability.
So we've found an appropriate board. Well done. This is one of the most important steps that unfortunately a lot of surfers just blindly take on their surfing journey. Having the right board allows you to paddle effectively. It allows you to catch lots of waves, and it allows you to perform how you want to on those waves. So now let's go surfing. Most beginner surfers will naturally start off in smaller whitewater waves and surf straight in toward the beach. Once they've successfully paddled and caught a wave, the surfer needs to pop up, and that's where things can sometimes get difficult. In fact, this can be tricky even for intermediate surfers too. The big dichotomy here is that taking off on whitewater waves is actually harder than taking off on an unbroken face. But catching an unbroken wave is a skill in itself, and it's not something that's easily taught. So for now, let's stick to the whitewater. One of the most important things to remember when popping up is to stay centered over your board. Many people struggle to transition from low to high without losing their centered position and simply topple over to one side. Of significance is the stance you're popping up into. Contrary to the conventional view of surfing, we don't actually need to pop up straight into a high stance with straight legs. In fact, this is actually not recommended. By popping up into a lower surf stance with arms semi-relaxed and out to the side, we can create a much more stable pop-up process. This upward motion during the transition from low to high is actually something we can train on land, as it does require a certain degree of core strength and coordination. It's often a sticking point for many beginner and intermediate surfers.
When it comes to popping up, one big thing I see with beginners is that they get really flustered and try and do everything very, very quickly. So they're going to disorientate themselves and upset their equilibrium on their surfboard. And when you're paddling like a maniac and not actually paddling efficiently, that can really upset your equilibrium on the surfboard. So for one, you're starting on the back foot. And then I see people getting up and standing up, really trying to be quickly, ending up being heavy-footed and being too tall, too high. I think you want to be getting up slower and lower. Instead of like a pop-up or a jump up, I think of like, how can you slide up to your feet? For starters, I would really focus on getting the hips open, especially if you're surfing at a beginner or intermediate level as an adult. There's a lot of tension to undo before we have that efficiency and that fluidity. So I'd really spend some time opening the hips. So one nice hip stretch would be just the normal lunge. And I'd also exercise out of perfect range of motion. So I'd be allowing myself to extend the knees beyond the toes, the front leg, whilst you're opening up the opposite hip. I'd also be playing around with some circular motions. Then you can transition that from a downward dog to stepping 1 foot forward to the outside of your hand at a time. You can do that variable tempo and intensity as well. It can be fast, it can be slow. You can add a little bit of a push-up with that, which I'll demonstrate. So I'd definitely be concentrating on opening the hips. I'd definitely be concentrating on getting a nice open and extension in the spine, particularly the upper back. Open upper back, strong lower back, strong set of glutes, open hips.
The reality is that pop-up training on land is quite different to in the water, where we are moving on an unbalanced dynamic surface. But the strength and coordination which comes from those on-land exercises is super helpful in perfecting our pop-up technique. Once you've got your pop-up to a point where you're feeling pretty confident, let's say you're taking off on waves with at least an 85% success rate, then it's time to start catching unbroken waves. And for this though, we need to talk about an entirely new skill set. We need to talk about positioning and paddling. Learning how to read waves is like learning a new language. It's difficult and there's lots of things to think about, but there are some key cues to look out for to help you be in the right spot for the right wave. Finding the right conditions for you to transition to out the back surfing is going to be critical. There's no point doing it in 4 to 6 foot pumping waves. What we're looking for is this stuff right here. It's small and it's perfectly peeling and it's inconsequential. So if you do fall off, nothing bad is going to happen. If you look at the surf from above, we see that swell and sand contours are not uniform. This non-uniformity creates areas in which the swell dissipates differently, which essentially gives us the space to ride them before they crash altogether. When looking at waves from eye level, what we're looking for is non-uniform shapes across the swell line. When an area of the swell is bigger than the rest of it, then we'll often see a peak established and a shoulder. The difference in time from when these two break into whitewater is where we find faces to surf on. See how many sections you can find in this shot here. It's getting used to this kind of analysis that really adds such a huge element to your overall surfing. I mean, without the ability to predict what a wave is going to do, we're essentially going to be lost in the lineup as opposed to being in control. Start positioning yourself just to the most open side of the peak. This way you can get enough speed to get into the wave nice and easily and also make it out onto the face. By angling your board slightly in the direction you want to go, you'll give yourself a bit of a head start when it comes to turning your board. But make sure you still remain centered over the board as you pop up. You can turn the board with the oscillation of your heels and toes. Want to turn more to the front side? Put more weight in the toes. Turn more to the back side? Put your weight in your heels. But most often it doesn't need to be that technical. Turning in surfing relies on one main factor. Where you look is where you go. I constantly have to remind intermediate surfers to look to the part of the wave that they want to be on in order to get there. This first initial identification puts a kinetic chain of events into progress where we turn the board. Eventually, you won't even think about what your feet are doing as you stand up because your eyeballs will do all the work and your body just follows along. A great transition tip: actually look down the line at your wave as you paddle in, rather than looking only once you've caught it and have stood up. This puts you 2 steps ahead of the wave and more in control of where you end up. But of course, none of this happens without the ability to paddle. I often say that you can only progress in surfing to the degree that you can paddle. Now, I've done plenty of videos on paddling technique on the channel, so make sure you check them out, but here are the basics. Paddling is a full body exercise with the main control center being the middle back muscles. From these muscles, we are able to arch our spine safely and sustainably without creating shearing tension on our upper thoracic. It also creates a nice lever from which we can pull ourselves through the water with loosely cupped hands moving in a slight S motion as they go through each stroke. The arms should enter the water to about tricep depth and stay close to the board, not too far away. Your muscles will be sore when you first start. This is normal, but with practice and on-land exercises like with the Swiss ball here, you can progress fast in this area. Are you ready for another transition exercise? Great. What we're going to do is make your first movement on the wave one where you can get to the top of the wave. Now, as soon as your feet hit the deck, what I want you to do is look up to the lip and get that first transition turn, that first bottom turn happening so you can get up there. That's where the most power is going to be. Now, you can come back to this exercise if you're finding yourself having a lack of speed on a wave, because it means you're probably not utilizing the entire wave as you should. Come back to it and watch yourself fly down the line. On the forehand, this first turn will be toe dominant. On the backhand, it'll be heel dominant. Our main goal being, though, to put ourselves into the power zone on the wave. The top half of the wave is where we will be able to get our speed from. This speed can be harnessed with something called speed pumping, which is essentially moving in and out of the power zone to build up speed to use in a turn or to make it past a fast section. It's our final intermediate stepping point because essentially all maneuvers in surfing are a variation of this ability to speed pump. You can practice speed generation technique on land just with a skateboard. I started off with a regular skateboard, but you can also use a surf trainer like the one you've seen in these clips here. The key though is to mimic the surfing movements as closely as possible so that it crosses over into your surfing. Note the arm and hip movements here. This is crucial for good carryover into our surfing. The leading arm always faces forward and almost points in the direction we want to go. The trailing arm is bent with the forearm facing forward and acts as a pumping point for the shoulders, almost like you're dancing. Let's analyze both positions in a freeze frame. Notice at the bottom of my concrete wave here, I am nice and low. My back is low as well, but arched and active. My leading hand and my eyes are pointing toward the section I want to be at, and my hips and knees are loaded with power. Now, let's transition, and watch the transition a couple of times to note the strong hip thrust and change of body position. At the top here, we can see that I've shifted my center point to the other side of the board in order to turn in the other direction. My eyes and leading arm are pointing forward down the line, and I am essentially gathering up speed potential at the top of the wave in preparation for a compression to go back down. Common mistakes during this process are people not moving their arms in a coordinated fashion, leaning too much on the back foot, which prevents driving forward, and looking down toward the beach too much as opposed to directing their movements with their eyes. Let's see how this translates over to generating speed in the surf. From this point, the possibilities become endless. What are we going to do with all this speed and momentum? This is where we begin our transition from intermediate to advanced. The Surfer's Roadmap continues next week, showing how we can transition from intermediate all the way up to advanced. It's the most exciting time in your surfing career because there is an endless road of improvement waiting. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, join me on Instagram at Kale's Broccoli, and let me know in the comments section what else you want to see. I'll see you in the next video. You.